What up, guys? Bespoke Post, aka Box of Awesome, is an official sponsor of this Behind the Baller episode. The perfect way to bring some awesome to your doorstep. I've partnered with Bespoke Post to give all my listeners 20% off your first box. Every month, subscribers get to choose a theme box of awesome, filled with unique items, from style and grooming gear to items for your home and backyard. Examples of products include barware, whiskey barrel aging kits, weekender bags, and outdoor hammocks. Box of Awesome has carefully built collections from the kind of products you wouldn't find in most stores or even on Amazon. On the first of each month, they will send you an email of what's going to be in your box. You can switch or skip if the box doesn't appeal to you. You won't be charged if you skip, plus you can cancel at any time. To try it out, all you have to do is sign up for free. Then take the quiz on what you like and what you don't like. Box of Awesome will handpick your first box on the spot. Best of all, each box costs $45 and it's packed with over $75 worth of gear inside. For being in the BBP Army, you'll get 20% off your first monthly box when you sign up at boxofawesome.com and enter the code BALLER20 at checkout. That's boxofawesome.com, code BALLER20 for 20% off your first box. Bring some awesome into your life. Yo, what's good, people? It is April 20th. aka 420. Before we even begin, hold up. I hope you are lighting one up for the ones who can't be here, for the ones who are out there on the front lines fighting for us, so we're at home safe. Yes, Mr. Negative wants you to look at shit with the glass half full. What up, y'all? My name is Ben Baller, also known as Old Boy, aka Odesu, and some people call me the Korean John Cusack. For all you under the age 37 motherfuckers, you probably have no idea who the fuck that is. So right about now, I want you guys to slap yourselves real quick. Everyone else can call me the Washed Lord. Yo, you are now listening to the first 420 episode of Behind the Baller. We may be in quarantine, but that don't mean that we can't smoke something, all right? This is episode 74, and let me tell you, this is the most in-depth real talk episode about coronavirus I have had to date on the podcast, okay? I know for the last, 2 weeks, the last maybe 4 or 5 episodes, I haven't really talked about coronavirus. And, already, shit, it is what it is. But we have a special guest who is very vocal. He goes crazy on Twitter. And people might misinterpret him, you know what I'm saying? But he's going to give it to you real here. He has a lot of knowledge about COVID-19. He happens to be a heavy-duty dude who consults for national security. Yes, this dude is the real deal. His name is Jordan Schachtel. You guys asked for an opinion regarding this pandemic, and you wanted someone who's completely different, who shares completely different views than I do. So, look, man, I'm known to give people what they want, and this, again, is a very unbiased discussion about coronavirus. You don't want to miss this episode. Yeah, man. Let me get some music again. So, as you know, my gold Ben Baller Did the Chain vacuum sealer drops today. In fact, if you're listening to this podcast in real time, you got about 2 hours and 50 minutes to get your dibs in to the drawing we're having. Yeah, I changed it up. We're not going to do the traditional way of buying the shit. I figured since every single release I have done is sold out in minutes, right? But the gold Ben Baller Did the Chain stuff, that's sold out in seconds, okay? So I wanted more people to participate and not just take an L in seconds. You know what I'm saying? We're lucky with all that's going on right now in China that we were able to get this drop for 420 still. All right. So stay tuned. After the interview with Jordan, I will tell you guys how 4 lucky Behind the Baller listeners will get a chance to win one of these gold bend baller to the chain vacuum sealers. They're lit motherfuckers that are like good quality. They got a retractable cord. They seal up anything you fucking want, food, cash, whatever, gas, because chances are you might not win this drawing. Okay, but the only way to get this is through the Network Live app, right? So the Network app is the only place you can get this. Otherwise, you're gonna have to pay over $500 on the resale market, whether it be StockX or eBay or fucking who knows, I've seen boutiques selling them and stuff, right? Or you can pay attention after the interview and possibly win here. And if you win, you pay nothing, okay? Not even shipping. I'll take care of shipping. I'll ship anywhere in the motherfucking world. Fuck it. Asia too. You know what? I will be honest with you though. Because of the shit that's going on, I mean, we'll see who wins. I prefer somebody in North America. But look, man, whoever wins, I'll even throw on some motherfucking Ben Baller Did the Chain stickers. I'll even throw them in, all right? But enough about that. I hope your weekend was good, right? With obviously, considering the situation that's going on right now. We're not going to get into the death toll and all that bullshit and everything else. I do feel the pressure of the dark side of the government pushing to open the country back up. And the crazy thing is this. Look, man, I want you guys to all remember this. They didn't even lock down the country severely. All right. I know you motherfuckers out there protesting. Some people are mad. Some people are like, this is bullshit, blah, blah, whatever. Some of you guys want to work. I get it. Okay. But China did lock their country the fuck down. Like, I'd rather be in Rikers Island jail than be in China during that quarantine. Trust me. Real talk. They locked the shit down for real. Not that pussy stay-at-home order bullshit. So I'm talking about get your wig pushed back. Get your ass beat the fuck up by the police and military and then go to jail and then be fined type shit. Okay? And I just spoke to someone who lives in the Hubei district, and he said, yes, the stores and businesses and factories are back in order, but ain't nobody eating at no restaurants. Nobody's going in no gift shops or no mall stores and shit like that. Just the markets and like things like that. Maybe a little, little convenience store, 7-Eleven and shit. And fucking, why the fuck am I drawing a blank right now? I'm in fucking Asia all the goddamn time. Anyways, if they did do the extreme here, right? And listen, let me remind you, China saw a curve, right? After at least 6 figures in deaths, right? Their death totals were up in the 6 figures, okay? They locked down 750 million people. They had over 1 million infections there. You're like, what the fuck? I'm not into conspiracy theories, man. You fucking notice, right? Since the motherfucking stimulus checks came out, you don't hear no 5G talk because people got some money right now. They don't want to talk about that stupid ass shit. And I'm not going to entertain that bullshit. But meanwhile, we're semi-locked down here, right? Under 300 million people on a semi-lockdown, right? For less time. We haven't hit our fucking apex yet. And fools want the stores and shit and the economy back open. Okay. Y'all do what the fuck you want to, right? But I bet there will be a lot of sick motherfuckers and the curves will go way the fuck back up. All right? But go ahead. You see that fucking Florida this past weekend, just on Friday, they opened the beaches back up and then they had their highest number of infections that fucking day. Next day, again. And it's just, people are just fucking stupid, right? Like the idiots in Texas. And I don't really want to get into the Detroit shit. I mean, into the Michigan. I feel bad for those people in a way. But the people in Texas, and especially, fuck that, the people in Huntington Beach protesting, well, it's like 99% of those protesters are fucking from Trump rally Facebook groups. And it's funny because like I'm watching this shit and these people are all fucking right next to each other, stupid as fuck. And they're like, we want our rights, we want to be free. This is, this girl had a poster that said my body, my choice with the poster of a mask crossed out. But yet the people around her are wearing masks and she's wearing a fucking bandana. My God, man, the idiots that are in this world, like it's insane, man. And it's not like 1%, it's 100% everyone who ends up getting sick. Because some of these people don't get the bad symptoms, but some of these people who've been talking crazy shit and then they get sick as fuck, they always turn around. Look at fucking, I don't know if Dr. Phil made an apology yet. And I know Dr. Phil, right? I think I've spoke about that before. I make jewelry for his son and his wife and his nieces and nephews and everybody else. And he's dropped a big bag with me, right? Yes, Phil McGraw out of fucking Texas, right? And everyone said all this shit. I'd keep my reserve. You know, I don't really have anything against dude. But he did say some ignorant things, and I feel bad because Jordan's my boy, his son. But like, Dr. Oz, man, he got such a big fucking platform, and he's a real doctor. He's a heart doctor. And this motherfucker said, you know what? We might have to risk 2-3% of, you know, the kids in the United States. And I was like, motherfucker, do you know what 2% of the kids in school? That's up to 1.7 million kids. Are you fucking crazy? Like, I already told y'all, London's going to homeschool for the next 2 years. I can't risk it. People are like, oh, chill out. No, I can't chill out because I want him to live. And I need him to live. That's my firstborn son. Are you fucking crazy? I mean, that shit is more important than anything in the world to me. But I mean, look, they've been interviewing all the governors of every fucking state, even the Republican states, and the Republican governors think it's a bad idea until we have all the shit in order. You know, we have enough tests. Motherfuckers are running out of swabs. We're supposed to have like, what, 40 million tests? And there's been like I forgot what the fuck. We're at like less than 2 million tests. Like, I forgot what I don't know what the exact, I just know we're not even a fraction, not even a fifth or eighth of fucking the 40 million tests that we're supposed to have. But again, listen, man, go ahead. Go out, right? Go have fun, be out in the streets. I don't know what the fuck you guys are going to do, man. I mean, let me stop myself right here. I don't want to be fucking super negative. I am going a little cuckoo. No cap. Like, but look, check it out. I'm prepared when I leave the house, which is very, very, very seldomly do I leave the house. Okay. And I'm talking about leave the house to be out somewhere in public. Okay. I'm prepared. All right. Do not touch your fucking face. Wear a mask. Before you touch your mask with your hands or your gloves, make sure you sanitize your gloves. Make sure you're wearing them powder-free fucking exam gloves. All right, whatever you're doing, make sure you are mindful of that. Okay? Do not touch your fucking mask if your fucking hands have touched doors, car doors, other things, other shit, because you fuck around and get close to your nose, mouth, or eyes where I wear. I motherfucking wear my glasses. I got my mask. Then I wear a shield over that shit. I got gloves, all that. Look, you might have to wash or sanitize your hands 40 times or more a day, right? But who cares? That, you know, you have to, okay? Change clothes if you've been outside in a ride share or public transportation, or if you've been inside a grocery store that was somewhat crowded, or any store with people in it, if you've been in there for over a few minutes. Starbucks, where the fuck it is, right? I think Starbucks are closed. But listen, just be prepared. That's all I'm saying. When you see these stats of the chances of catching COVID-19 when the person who's infected has a mask and you have a mask, it's very rare. Now, if you cover your eyes as well too, look, man, it's super, 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 it just makes it a lot harder. Now, if that person's wearing a mask and you're not wearing a mask, still a chance for you to get it. If that person who's infected isn't wearing a mask and you're wearing an N95, if it's on properly, you should be okay. But they're saying it's still, you know, chances, you know, could be fucked up. And let me say this, man. Against my wife's wishes, I might have to fuck around and fly to San Francisco late next month, like late May. We're going to see. You know, I think the peak's going to happen in May. I think some shit's about to still go down in New York and in LA, in San Francisco, or, you know, whatever. But look, I'll fly private, you know, got to get my things. I got to get my shit out of my place. I might even cool out for a few days just to see what the fuck it's like. But, you know, obviously prepared. I know how to fucking get down. I got travel Lysol. I got the wipes. I got fucking disinfectant wipes. I got every kind of possible wipe. I know exactly what I need to wear and everything else. All right. And then when I get home, I'll take my little COVID-19 home test, prick my finger and see what's up. If for some reason, of course, I do have it, I will quarantine either in a hotel or the $1 Million Man Cave for like 14 or 20 days or whatever the fuck it is. So, look, as much as I've warned you guys, I understand your frustrations, all right? but it's also been very nice on my end over here. As of today, I've been quarantined for 52 days, right? With a total time of about an hour and 40 minutes outside. Hour and 40 minutes. And that's like 4 trips maybe to the market. And that's it. Not fucking around. I know exactly what I need to get. I'm not browsing this shit. I know exactly where this shit is at the local market. I am in and out. I'm not fucking playing games with motherfuckers. All right. My wife has left the house once for 25 minutes in 66 days. But yo, again, look, I have space. I got a lot of space in my home. You know, I had 20 fucking people stay here. 20 people slept here for like 4 or 5 days. No one was on top of each other. There was no issue. There was no shortage of showers or fucking toilets, whatever. But again, I got my family. You know, I'm entertained with my kids. And even though the kids low-key been driving me crazy, you know, homework and being a fucking teacher and vice principal and all that shit, and my wife being the principal and a teacher and all that stuff, it's been really nice to just stay put and chill. All right. I've been hustling and on the grind for fucking 25, 30 years or so, okay? I haven't chilled like this in my adult life, okay? Even when I was broke, I wasn't chilling like this. But let me explain. I think they're really going to try to figure out the sports situation, okay? I had a talk with my boy Jock Peterson, who plays for the Dodgers. And he said he had a call, and they're trying to get this shit cracking, right? Obviously, no fans, all that. I don't know about that Arizona only shit. Again, Eric Garcetti said no sports. I don't know what's going to happen, right? But the NBA season is done. That shit's, they got to asterisk it. You know, they can't do no voting like, oh, we'll vote who the championship should have went to. Like, come on, man. This is just the L. I almost feel like if you're in high school, you're a freshman, sophomore, junior, or senior, you might have to take the L in the school year as far as education, or, you know, they just got to pass you. But I don't know what's going to be like for summer and everything else. Who's prepared? There's some other shit. And who knows who's really doing, you know, when you're 14 to 15, you ain't got to have no parents watch you. You know what I'm saying? We're talking about, you know, if you're under like 12, you know, motherfucking parents got to be around, you know, to make sure you're okay and stuff. But like, if you're like 14 and older and stuff, motherfuckers ain't doing no homework during the fucking lockdown. They out there playing video games, they fuck around. Who knows? Anyways, like I said, baseball season may happen. I don't know. And if it does happen, and listen, again, in 2021, if shit is cool, and like I'm talking the next season, not 20 to 21, I'm talking 21 to 22, right? Don't forget, I'm going to do our first annual Behind the Baller Dodger Game Summit. We're going to have Behind the Baller Summit, giveaways, clothes, everything, make sure everyone's lit. Smoke and drink in the parking lot. Could drink in the stands, obviously, but, you know, smoke a little something and go to the all-you-can-eat seats, and then we'll have our names we'll have the Behind the Baller podcast put up on the Jumbotron, and it's going to be fun. It's been a long time, but again, we have to see how we're living in August, September as an entire country. We got to know, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, is there an outbreak? You know, are there any hot spots around? That will determine a lot. By September, we should know, all right? And with that said, no way football happens for real, right? Because they got to do, you can't play football with no fans, man. I mean, just because the stadium is so fucking big, it's just crazy. It would just take the entire climax. It'd just be so underwhelming. It just wouldn't be fun. It would fucking even suck on television, right? I mean, they're saying that they could do like a quarter capacity. So like if a stadium holds 70,000, they could do fucking, you know, 20,000. I don't know, you know what I'm saying? And then, basically, everyone's got to wear a mask. They got to get their temp taken. Obviously, there's got to be fucking, the seats got to be distance apart. I don't know, even waiting in line to go to the bathroom, you got social distance. It's going to be crazy. This shit is, I don't know, man. What else? Movie theaters, forget about it. All right, Dave & Buster's, fuck, man. Nah. Major restaurant chains, forget about it. Right. And this is with the glass is half full mentality too, by the way. Okay. The vaccine isn't coming anytime soon. And that's if we even get a vaccine. All right. We can't, and I'm telling y'all, I was like, look, man, just because my son can't go out and he can't go to school and shit like that, that don't mean that the rest of the world can't. I'm just telling you what we're going to do and what I'm going to do, right? And eventually motherfuckers are going to get it here and there. And, and hopefully, depending on the viral load and whatever they have, they'll be immune because they'll build an antibody for it. And I don't, no, it's just some people like me, I'm a perfect candidate for fucking death. I'm a little overweight. I smoke. I'm not in the greatest health, but I don't know. I'm strong. We'll see. My son, I can't take that chance. But again, what we do, what I do, that don't mean you got to do that. I'm just letting you know I'm taking the precautions because this country's got to get back together. I get it. Is it going to happen? I don't know, but I'm saying I understand because the economy's at risk and that can definitely fuck with people even more on a stress level, right? But health is more important. And I'm just saying I'm ready to fucking, sit back and figure the shit out and really be on some fucking, the fuck is I Am Legend type shit or 28 Days Later type shit, except without the zombies. I don't know. What I do know is that all of our lives have changed possibly forever. And this is, my podcast is global, right? I got people in New Zealand, fucking Singapore, Germany, Sweden, Switzerland, Paris, London, fucking Canada, Brazil. I got motherfuckers in Peru listen to my shit, okay? Everyone's lives have been changed for real. Traveling, vacation, shit's different, okay? But on a positive note, we will work it out, all right? We will all come out of this with much better hygiene. We're going to come out here with more respect for each other, respect for our space. We're not going to take things for granted. But when will this end? I have no fucking idea. Even the smartest people in the lab, smartest people in the room don't have an answer for that. They ain't got no real answer for that, all right? But yo, check this out. Let's get into this interview with Jordan Schachtel. Me and Jordan, we get into it. He's a little PC in this interview, you know what I'm saying? I understand because he's got a lot, you know what I'm saying? He's got some, heavy hitters, government motherfuckers he deals with on a regular basis. But compared to his Twitter, he's definitely a little more light on this, right? But again, we get it in, all right? We had an intelligent conversation, and I want you guys to hear it right now. Miles, hit me with some LL. So the last few episodes, I've told you guys about our new sponsor, Acre Gold, our official subscription platform for gold. Now, there's a lot of uncertainty with markets, and having gold is important to have just in case shit really hits the fan. Acre Gold lets you make small monthly payments and then sends gold straight to your doorstep every few months. I encourage all of you to sign up so that you're putting money into different formats that will increase during shitty times like these. Here are the benefits of Acre Gold. It's affordable. You don't have to pay out of your pocket all at once. It's convenient. Physical gold bars mailed to your doorstep. Acre branded gold is the highest quality, designed in California and minted in Switzerland. Subscribe for $30 or $50 a month. Once your gold stash reaches the price of a 2.5 gram Acre gold bar, they will discreetly ship your gold. You're in control. You can easily cancel or modify your plan to suit your needs at any time. Find out more by going to getacregold.com/baller. Acre is the sponsor of this Behind the Baller podcast episode. getacregold.com/baller. Yo, what up, what up? You are listening to Behind the Baller. We have a special guest. You guys asked for somebody who had complete opposing opinions and thoughts from mine on this COVID-19 situation. As you guys know, I've been speaking about this since February 5th on the podcast. We have Jordan Schachtel on the show. Jordan, what's up, man?
Hey, Ben. Thanks for having me. Really appreciate it.
Nah, man, I'm really excited, man. Let's just get right into it, man. Can you please tell the people what it is you do for a living and how you actually got to where you are in the world today professionally?
Yeah, so I'm an investigative journalist. I'm based in Washington, D.C. My background is in national security and foreign policy. studied it in college, went to grad school for international affairs. So that was really my bread and butter. But as with many of us, this issue has just kind of consumed the nation. So um, I saw that there was a need for a diversity of opinions. And especially when it comes to like global pandemics, this is definitely something that has been in my wheelhouse before, in studying the history of this stuff and how, people move in masses and stuff like that. So, I've been speaking about it from my perspective for a few months now. And, I'm happy to engage in a conversation with people across. I don't think this is really much like an ideological debate. I think there's just some people that have come to some conclusions about this, regardless of, their politics, their status in life, and that's all good with me, as long as people debate these things honestly and professionally. And I think that we have to recognize that a lot of Americans are just, we just want the best for everyone, and if that's our premise, like I'm happy to engage with people on that.
1,000,000%. And we'll get into it. I've been angry about a few things. I have a son who's has health issues. He's equivalent to someone who would be in there. He'd be a senior citizen. He'd consider, he doesn't have asthma. He has something worse. He has like a respiratory illness he's had since he was 15 months. So like I got to really be careful with him specifically, and actually this actually is catered for him. That's why it kind of sucks in the situation I'm in, and I travel a lot. But I've been speaking about it. I think people kind of see it one way. I've gone against the Surgeon General about it, but I've been going on your page, seeing how you go, and I was like, yo, dude, this guy is fucking awesome. And I've been trending in the COVID-19 space. And the crazy part is I was the only non-scientist, non-epidemiologist, non-doctor that was in that space. So I think people were kind of curious. And I've had a couple of people who were infected early. I've discussed, I've lost two people I know. One was a pretty good friend. One was my really good friend's grandmother. He got sick and things like that. So I was like, look, man, this guy's got to get on the show, right? And again, man, I've said this, and I know you don't know me, but I've said this. I said, look, man, I couldn't imagine living in a world where everyone agreed with me. It would be, or even my friends, it would just be weird. That's not my style at all whatsoever. And I'm pretty brash with the way I speak, and that's just me, right? But at the same time, this is just a perfect opportunity. So you have, you understand that. I saw that also, I don't know, I looked at your LinkedIn. It said you work for national security, or you do consulting for national security, or is that the wrong person? Or
Yeah, so I used to be a full-time staffer in a bunch of media outlets, but right now I'm doing some consulting for private clients, and I'm doing some ghostwriting. Doing a whole bunch of things, especially in this economy. I think, I don't want to change to business right away,
right?
But I think going independent has a lot of value once you've kind of established yourself. So that's kind of what I'm working with. I have a lot of dealing with a lot of stuff right now, and just trying to take advantage of those opportunities. But no, like I totally understand that a lot of people, myself included, have know people personally who have, dealt with this virus, and it's been pretty brutal. Right. And that, that stuff can't be dismissed.
No, not at all.
I think, to state my overall position right now, is that looking at the side effects of, just today, the new number is 22 million Americans have been unemployed over the past month as a result of these policies. And I think that at the very least, there needs to be a balance, because I don't see this thing where everyone's just saying, shelter at home, and we're trying to like figure out stuff about the virus. I think that, there's got to be some happy medium between, everyone locked down and everyone back in society as normal.
100%. I agree. So, okay, let's go back a little bit, right? Let's go to either November, December. I'm not exactly sure. And I know you're really hard on facts. From what I could tell, just from shit, man, it took me 30 minutes just to go through a week of tweets of yours where I was like, God damn, this dude. So where do you think the virus came from, and how do you think it spread around the world so quickly?
So this is another thing that we're learning a lot about. Initially, as you know, the Chinese government said basically that it was a random event, came out of a wet market, which is, where people can buy all kinds of live animals and creatures,
Yeah.
and there's a lot of issues for contamination. But now the U.S. government is saying, at least leaking to the media, that no, this thing came out of a lab in Wuhan, China,
Right.
and the patient zero was someone playing around with it, got infected, brought it home, apparently gave it to her boyfriend, and that's where the chain started.
Okay. So let's say that China were to have sounded the alarm to the world right away, like immediately, right, with urgency. What countermeasures do you think would have been put in place by countries?
Well, I think the responsibility really fell. I think what could have happened, is that they heard about this thing, maybe a couple weeks too late, didn't know what to do about it. Someone must, at some level of the bureaucracy, didn't make the right decision and just kind of like panicked instead of trying to shut it down. I mean, the best thing that could have happened is that China tracked it down as quickly as possible, and then we wouldn't have to deal with the ramifications. But once you left that window, and Wuhan, China, 10 million people live there.
Shit, 11.8 million people, man.
Yeah, so once that genie gets out of the bottle, then you just have an explosion. And as you probably know, there's flights there prior to all of this happening. There were flights direct from Wuhan to San Francisco to JFK, New York,
Yeah.
every single day, multiple times per day. So I do concede that like this is a tough ask, but I think it's like a ridiculously hard lesson learned, that people need to get on top of things. And it's just tough because there's 7 billion people, more than 7 billion people in the world. And when something like this happens, you kind of need a quick reaction force to deal with this. And the way that we're set up, it's very difficult.
Right. I mean, look, man, at first I was like, I'm obviously want you to talk more. I think my people have definitely heard me, my fans and followers have listened to me enough, and I've spoken a lot about it early on. I haven't really talked about it too much in the last couple episodes because it's like, you wake up every morning. I have 3 kids, I have a wife, and I'm very fortunate to live the life I live. But, for 2 or 3 weeks straight and you're listening to Cuomo and seeing, I'm like ready to fucking kill somebody. I'm like, dude, enough isn't, I can't hear it anymore. It's a lot. With that being said, just to give you a little bit of my background, because I know you know nothing, you might see like, oh, this guy's a celebrity jeweler. This guy does this, this, and this. I mean, I'm an entrepreneur, so I actually owned a factory for several years in China, right? I've been to China many times. I'm actually from Korea. I'm of Korean descent, but I'm an American citizen. But I understand how China works better than most people, definitely better than a large majority of Americans do. One thing about the whole situation was the big outbreak was during Chinese New Year. And the Lunar New Year is the biggest holiday for China. And for Asians, period, it's like enormous. So by the time the infection had already broken out in Wuhan, 5 million people had already left. And Wuhan's kind of like the hub between all the major working cities. So, I didn't even know geographically exactly where Wuhan was. When I started to research it, I'm like, holy shit. So I'm just out of curiosity. This wasn't even a question I had for you, but now that I'm thinking about it, do you think the CCP was telling the truth to the WHO and to the CDC about the total death numbers? You actually think there was only 3,800 people dead in China?
No, I definitely think that number. So the United States is a very, I think, accommodating country, especially like our foreign officials. And I think that it's not only China that's committing these statistical, they're kind of clamping down on the reality. I think a lot of countries are probably doing that. And I think it's a means to kind of protect national power, because that's the way a lot of people see it. I think a lot of Americans have that kind of Boy Scout mentality in our hospital systems. If someone dies of COVID, it's probably going to be tracked as COVID.
Right.
In a centralized system like what you have in China, you can give that number to the Minister of Health, and then the Minister of Health might say, yeah, you know what, we're going to pass on that. So I don't claim to know the exact number out of China, but I think it's safe to be concerned that they did not give the full picture to the international community, which did hurt the efforts to respond, because a lot of these models that people projected out for the US were based on these numbers that China gave to WHO and WHO was spreading around. And a lot of people thought that this thing, wasn't particularly targeted towards the elderly and people with respiratory conditions, which it seems to be. And they
Right.
thought it was just kind of like a general population killer.
Yeah.
So I definitely think it hurt our response because China seems very interested in making sure that, this was something that just broke out for a month and then they just got control of it and the whole country's fine now. And I don't really necessarily believe that. I think that the virus may have run its course through China. That's very believable. But in terms of like, the 3,300 number or whatever, when you have a population of 1.5 billion people, that's tough to say that I would,
I mean, okay,
agree
just
with that.
look, man, if you don't feel like answering, you don't feel comfortable. And I know, look, I have a massive platform, like across all three social media. It's like I'm at 2 million or something. And I just had to, because, I have a business partner my business partner who I own the factory with. He actually owns a hospital. One of the businesses he owns is a hospital in Hubei district, right? And it's like, man, 5 million people went through, and he's like, yo, this is what I feel. And he said a pretty large, not high, but a large 6-figure number is what he thinks as far as the deaths are.
Oh, that's bold of him because I mean, the system in China. Like, you don't want to piss off the
Oh, of
authorities.
course. The thing
So,
is,
like, yeah.
well, first of all, I actually said something publicly about the CCP. Every single Chinese celebrity that I know under the age of 35, I'm talking singer, actor, fucking chef, they all messaged me. I deleted it within 45 minutes, but I never had anything against Chinese nationalists. It was just against the CCP. I really couldn't. I'm like, you guys aren't part of the CCP. But I mean, my question is, do you think it's far-fetched to think that 100,000 people died in China from COVID?
Oh, I think it's very possible. I mean, um, unless they were able to somehow contain the virus in Wuhan, but what we saw with New York City, and you kind of extrapolate that to other cities, it's hard to say that they could have possibly contained it to Wuhan. So I think 100,000 is definitely a fair number, especially with what we're looking at when we're dealing with the virus in America right now.
Okay. So then my next question is, how do you feel that China should be punished when this is all said and done?
Yeah, so I think a lot of my friends, and I'm definitely a right of center person, and I think a lot of my friends on the right are actually wrong about this in that, they want to slam China right now. But I don't think that unfortunately, we don't have the leverage right now to be attacking China. And it's easy for, my buddies working from home, making well into the six figures to say, oh, I'll pay a little more at Walmart. Let's just reroute the supply chains right now. I'm like, hold on a second.
Yeah.
There's people that are trying to feed their families. So
Right.
you got to always look out for that too. So I think that, once hopefully we get back to normal, in a matter, optimistically, we get back to normal, in a matter of months, I hope. And then we can start to talk about, how China's going to pay. But I think making China pay right now would make us pretty vulnerable. And I don't want us to be in an even worse economic position.
Okay, that's fair. That's actually very fair. So what do you think it's going to take to get the United States and the world back to normal?
Well, I think that there's a big time. I mean, I'm going around seeing people wearing masks in their cars, driving on the road
Yeah.
by themselves, and I'm like, you're probably not going to get the virus on the open road. So I think
Right.
that it's okay to lift your mask when you're in your car by yourself with the windows down a little bit. But I think that there's been this national panic instilled, and a lot of it is because. And I don't think this is a Republican or Democrat issue. I think that people haven't been given clarity by their officials about what's going on, and they just know that they're freaked out.
Right.
And I think that it would help to get some kind of consensus message, like, "Hey, this is where you're at risk. Like, don't go to the movie theater. Don't be in close public gatherings. But at some point, you can't just." I think that there's a lot of public government officials that are just scaring people for no reason, and just like, and that also affects all kinds of other health issues besides the virus. I mean, if people are so afraid to catch the virus that they're wearing a mask in their car driving down the freeway, think about think about how much stress that's causing on their lives.
No, for sure. I think I've inherited enormous more amount of stress because, I was doing very well and this was going to be an enormous year. Crazy part of this is when the outbreak had really went crazy, I was supposed to be in Asia. It's crazy. And in a way, I kind of fall into that category when I think of my friends who got sick and whatever else. I'm 47, maybe 20 pounds overweight. I smoke a lot of weed, so my lungs aren't really great. I can't say I'm in the best health. So it's like, I don't know, But do you think that social distancing is not the correct approach?
I think what's happening is that social distancing had a very specific purpose early on. And that purpose, the government, I don't think, wanted to have an adult conversation with Americans. And at some point, they basically realized that this thing's here and that social distancing is purposed with basically smoothing out the spread of the virus, making sure that it's more of a long-term thing than everyone gets hit at once and that hospitals are overwhelmed. And instead, they're now telling us that social distancing will actually save people's lives. And I think that that's kind of like a muddied message because social distancing was never intended to just prevent deaths. Like people are, unfortunately, I think that people are being given the idea that we can just kind of like social distance ourselves out of a virus. And that's just not the way that it operates. Unfortunately, I think that, optimistically speaking, if this virus has been in the country for months and months already, that means that many people have already had it and passed it. But the idea that social distancing is going to like kill this thing off isn't really a realistic proposal. The social distancing aspect was all about trying to spread out the timeline. It wasn't about, worried about, it wasn't saying, the claim was never that you're going to go outside, social distance, and then everyone will be fine.
Well, no, you don't think it's helped though? I mean, you don't think I think in California it has. That's why I'm in Los Angeles.
Yeah, I think that common sense measures are really practical. Like what they were doing initially with the regulations, like, no more than this amount of people in a restaurant, maybe like move things down to 20%, 30% capacity. But because they're like social distancing so hard and so and like it's just become such a relentless thing that for me, it's tough to see that a way out of this because we can't just, a vaccine might never come. So there might be a point in time where you're going to have to relax these restrictions. And like by social distancing, I mean the shelter in place orders. I think that people, I'm not comparing this to the flu, but in terms of guidance to not get the flu, I think it's a similar position we should put ourselves in that, we know it's COVID season and we know that we can take some precautions, but the idea that these policies are going to kill off the virus itself, these policies are unsustainable. That's the problem I have.
Okay, so what did you suggest Italy do though? You think that they shouldn't have locked down the country?
Italy was a nightmare scenario because you have a population of chain smoking elderly people. Their average age is over a decade older than the average American. And the issue in Italy was that you had multi-generational families basically living on top of each other. So I didn't necessarily think that lockdown was the right approach to deal with that. And if you look at the spread between lockdown and non-lockdown, there's a lot of research coming out now that says that it's really not helping or hurting particular situations. But I think that, the issue with lockdown is that when you're bringing more people that are less fortunate tend to live in, clustered households where you have mom, dad, grandpa, uncle, aunt, cousins, kids. The problem is that with this virus, it seems that you exponentially have a higher chance of getting the virus if you put everyone together in the same place for a longer period of time. So that's why I don't really like the hard lockdown stuff, because that's essentially the government encouraging you to stay at home and get your entire family infected. If one person has it, then if you're all locked down together, then I think everyone's going to get it. So that's the issue that I have with that. And a lot of people take that guidance literally. And some cities, they ban people from going outside.
Even in Paris, they have it where, like, let's say, for instance, where do you live? I mean, what area do you live in? You're in.
I'm in DC.
Okay, you're in DC. Let's just say, for instance, okay, for argument's sake, right? I just happen to know DC pretty well because one of my best friends, he's my daughter's godfather, lives in the DMV. So let's just say, for instance, you wanted to, let's say you actually had a DC license, right? Like actually District of Columbia license. And let's say you wanted to go visit your friend in Alexandria, okay, which is right now a 10-minute drive because there's no trap, nothing, right? And let's say you
Yeah.
want to do that. You got pulled over as soon as you cross the border, boom, and they say, hey, you have a DC license. This is what they're doing in Paris. What are you doing over here? Be like, oh, I want to visit a friend. Like, nah. And then you get the citation because you've left your district, meaning even if you're in Tyson's, you can't technically go to Annandale or you can't go to Baltimore, places that are kind of close because that's what they're doing in Paris. They want you to stay in your place. I think that's a little extreme myself, but I also think at the same time, if Italy just let people go free for all outside, man, I think that it would be worse.
So, I think like, again, there's that happy medium where you're not really destroying your society and locking it down. And I think that there's a lot of studies coming out showing that, the lockdown isn't necessarily helping or hurting anything. So for me, it was just like a big gamble. But I do think that, the policy that you mentioned with Paris, it kind of shows it has had more success than just like a sweeping shelter in place for everyone. I think that if you're targeting the hotspots, I would rather see the government say, listen, if you're in New York City right now, you can't travel outside of your state because like this is where it's all coming from,
Right.
as opposed to just telling everyone you have to live by the New York City rules. So I
Right.
just want a more flexible approach. I mean, listen, like Lombardy, Italy was hit super hard. And sometimes, you might just need to like mitigate the losses. And that might be the right approach to just say, lock it all down. And like, this is the only way that we can figure it out. But I think the issue is that so many of these states, entered this like domino effect where, you have the same policies in like North Dakota that you had in New York City originally. So I think that there's a lot of variables that people, especially politicians and states governors, that they're not really paying attention to. Like you have Newsom in California issuing one order, the entire state. So it's just like it's kind of like baffles my mind that the people in Los Angeles are living by the same guidelines as people in Northern California who are in a particularly rural area. So I think that it's like it just doesn't make sense to me. And I think
No,
that
but I know it's not really regarding what we're talking about, but the stimulus checks, $1,200, right? $1,200 per whatever. If you're married, it'd be $2,400, whatever. But what I'm saying is, someone who lives in San Francisco, California, for $1,200 compared to somebody who lives in like Biloxi, Mississippi, the cost of living is almost 6-7 times. So it's like, don't you think that they should have did that as well? Been like, all right, well, look, for California, it's a little bit more. For this, it's kind of the same thing in a way. That's what I thought. But anyways, I don't know. So basically, you want the countries to reopen, all the countries, right? Is that what you're saying, pretty much?
more so, I think countries can do what they want, but I think that the politicians haven't necessarily paid attention to the economic and societal ramifications of their approach. And I would like to see, if not an aggressive reopening, I think that we at least need to allow for states that have not been hit and where there is no threat, to that hospitalization overrun. And I think you're seeing that in 47 of 50 states right now, that they should be given at least some type of authority to roll out some reopening. Because like you putting the American economy on pause and just like printing our way out of this, you just mentioned it. The best Congress could come up with was $1,200 checks for most people that met a certain standard, and maybe a little more if you have children and if you're married. But I think that while that rounds may have helped people, it's just an unsustainable thing when you have the economic engine of the country turned off. So like, what value is that money that we're printing if it just has no particular value? So that's what I'm really worried about on the other end of things. And I think it's time that like people need to, obviously, if you are part of that group that is really susceptible to this virus, I am not at all advocating that you go back to normal life. Like that's the last thing I want to say. But I think that Americans that are, in that healthy and under elderly bracket and want to get out there and, feed their families, I think they should be granted that opportunity.
Okay. So if the United States reopens in the beginning of May, right? And I know like California, it got extended to May 15th. It was April 19th. It went to April 30th. Now it's May 15th. Let's just say the United States reopens beginning in May. How would you like to see it roll out?
Well, the issue is that, all these states have given their arbitrary deadlines and stuff. But I think that it's difficult to say that the governors should plan a rollout based on what they think is essential, what they think is non-essential. What I'd like to see is basically them saying, yeah, you're Americans, you're responsible for this. And I think that people will heed that call seriously. And now I think people are well aware of the risk. They're even more than well aware of the risk right now of what the virus can do, especially if it hits people that are in the at-risk population. But I think there's some common sense things. It appears that healthy children don't at all have particular symptoms. The data really shows that. So there has to be some kind of way to get kids back in school.
Right.
If anything, the kids have such a low chance of developing. Healthy children have, without respiratory issues, have a very good chance of having zero symptoms or mild symptoms. And I know that parents are usually obviously, good parents are very protective of their kids, but in this case, kids are the lowest risk bracket by far.
Right.
So at some point, you have like the working class that is very low risk and children that are very low risk. So I think these governments need to look at the data and say, like, this is what we encourage you to do. If you're in this bracket, it's probably a bad idea. You probably already know that, but I think people need to be given that opportunity. I mean, this is not an authoritarian country where governors and presidents and senators and congressmen should be saying, okay, this is when you're allowed to have some of your freedom back. Like, I just think that the premise is bad. And that if we still believe in this project, we also need to believe in people's freedom to make the right choices.
Right. I mean, again, I'm in a specific situation. I mean, even his respiratory therapist has been like, she's pretty lax, but she's like, hey, man, I'm going to be honest with you. This is like this, if there was a disease that was, I don't know, I know this is terrible to say, but like people think that HIV was aimed towards gays and towards minorities and whatever it may be, or, people, and it's like, in a way, I mean, it's fucked up, but maybe it is, but this is like directed kind of to my son's situation. So with that being said, I mean, I have 3 kids. I'm spending over 10 grand a month on fucking tuition, and they're at home driving me crazy. I'm the vice principal. My wife is the principal. She's a parent as well and a teacher. I'm a teacher. So we have parent-teacher conferences, and we're arguing because my kids have 4 hours of homework every single day, and it's not what I signed up for, but it is what it is, and we're going to protect my kids. It's just something like that, like churches, professional sports, concerts, movie theaters. I just don't think that shit can come back to... I mean, I came to the realization... I was one of those people who was advocating. I was like, listen, man, we need a fucking vaccine. And the thing is, I don't know if I'd take one in America. I don't know, but because I've never taken a flu shot before. But at the same time, I realized, holy shit, this might not come for 18 months. And then I really realized from talking to these epidemiologists and the people of, infectious disease, I've talked to a lot of doctors and things, and they're like, hey, man, what if this doesn't come for 3 years, Ben? It might not come for 3 years. And I was like, wait a second, I thought you said 12 to 18. They're like, if that was the case, why isn't there a cure for AIDS? And I was like, shit. I wasn't even thinking. I thought that it was a guaranteed 12 to 18 months we'd have this. And then I wasn't thinking. I was like, okay. So what happens to professional sports, to festivals, concerts? I mean, how do you have a concert with 100,000 people like Coachella with that shit going on? I mean, I'm just curious what you like.
No, I think you're right that there are some parts of life that are just until we know for sure. And like that stuff needs to meet a high bar when you have these mass gatherings. But like sports, I think that you're seeing in some countries they're playing in empty arenas, empty stadiums. I think Japan is getting baseball back very soon, but they're probably going to start in empty stadiums. And I hope people are not only like really bored right now, but they need reasons to be like optimistic about stuff. So I think like the entertainment and sports component is really important for that. I'm not saying that we should pack the stadiums, but I think that like, you know, it's definitely a conversation worth having. People, especially men, really want, you know, it sounds ridiculous, but it's, you know, it's a big part of a lot of our lives
It is.
to
It's a
you know, get
huge part
into
of my
that
life.
stuff. And even like, you know, the gyms are closed. We, you know, a lot of us are you know, play like pickup games and leagues. A lot of us do like martial arts. And I think like as a dude, you really we're really like looking back on that stuff, that and we like took it all for granted because it was such a big part of our lives, you know, this like competition and all this stuff, and now it's gone. And now I think that stuff needs to come back, but realistically looking at it, like I don't see Yankee Stadium having 45,000 people in it anytime soon. But you know, there needs to be some solution. You can't just cancel our national pastimes.
Trust me,
um,
but what the fuck
yeah,
do you
even
do?
even if they have to play in empty stadiums, or say like, you know, they're playing in states like Florida, Arizona, where it's not really hitting hard, they need to figure something out because, um, you know, even during World War II, you had people playing baseball, and you had I know that, you know, 9/11 was a really tough moment for the country, but a lot of what helped us kind of like rebuild our momentum was getting back into sports. You know, you can't just turn that stuff off.
What happens if they do play in, let's say, for instance, football is a lot bigger, so there's more people involved. Let's say a football game happens. You're at a Redskins versus a Giants game, and some of these players are, you know, infected. And then they get a roster of 65 people on a football team. You know what I'm saying? Even if there's no stands or whatever, there's nobody in the stands. I mean, they're potentially, these people live with other people. They might live with roommates. Some of the rookies live with their friends from college and high school and this and that. They could be sick. Someone goes out. You never fucking know what happens. I mean, what do you say after they try that and then people get sick? Because it is really contagious. It is super, I mean,
Oh yeah, no, I agree that um, there could be a lot of problems because, you know, if one member of a team gets infected, like that's kind of what happened with the NBA. You know, Rudy Gobert started getting infected, and then
yeah.
his teammate Donovan Mitchell started getting infected. So um, that's something they got to figure out. You know, I'm sure you know Dr. Anthony Fauci
Yeah.
proposed that they just kind of like hang out in a biosphere for the entire season. And like, I don't think that's going to work.
Yeah.
But they had to figure something out because, you know, these guys want to get. I'm sure they want to make. You know, they make a lot of money, but
They're not
the
getting paid
check's
right
not
now.
going to come if they cancel the season,
Well, they're,
right?
they're still
So
not getting paid right now. I don't know if you read the updates.
yeah,
Only 9% of the NBA got paid. You know, they have to, because they can't get paid unless they play the games. Like, for instance, if you're fined, let's say, Donovan Mitchell got fined for, I don't know, let's say he told the fucking ref, oh, that's bullshit. He gets fined 25 grand. Let's say the next game he gets out. They don't give him his pay because he missed that game on the bench. You know, even though these guys are getting anywhere upwards to, 800,000 a game, $230,000 a game, they missed that paycheck. But like, are you not concerned about the spreading of the virus by asymptomatic people?
so I looked into this a lot, and the issue with the asymptomatic spread thing is that we're making policy based on an unknown. And it seems there's a lot of good studies out of Taiwan, Germany, Iceland, China, Japan, and they all seem to show that while asymptomatic spread is happening, it's mostly what's occurring is that people are spreading it while they're pre-symptomatic, which means that, you know, asymptomatic is they never show any symptoms.
Yeah.
Pre-symptomatic is before symptoms. So the theory is that the way that they kind of shut this thing down in the states bordering China, well, first of all, they got to it early, but they focus on the people with symptoms because they found that asymptomatic spread is actually a very rare frequency. So it's not something to invest so much of your energies in, as opposed to the vast majority of these cases seem to be spreading people that, you know, are sick, coughing all over the place, and that they're the real spreaders. Similar to, you know, what happens during flu season. So I think that, you know, that's encouraging because people have a heightened sense of responsibility now, and that if you see someone in your workplace, like let's say we get back to work in a couple of weeks, and, you know, there's like some people back in the office, and you see someone sneezing all over the place, like you're not going to put up with it. You're like, you're going to have to get the hell out of here and go home.
Yeah.
So I think that that's actually going to help with the, the mitigation efforts. But I don't think that asymptomatic spread, which means that it's spread by someone that is not showing any symptoms, I think that it seems that the frequency is so rare that it's not a problem worth shutting down the country for.
But I thought, like, okay, so for instance, I don't know if Fauci said it. I'm not positive. I've watched so much of what the fuck he said. But I know that Cuomo had said that, hey, man, taking somebody's temperature at a restaurant might not necessarily work because some people have no symptoms. And I took that like, okay, I'm not saying that it was the gospel, but I'm like, hey, I'm trying to be precautionary from my family. So when they're saying that, and I think I said like 2 weeks ago, I saw something on the news where it said like 40% of the infections are coming from people that are asymptomatic. And I'm like, holy shit, that's a lot. And you're saying that it's rare. So I'm just, where the fuck is the truth?
So the traditional media has done and the politicians have done a really bad job on this issue. And like, trust me, I've read the studies. There's a new study that just came out of Taiwan, and they did contact tracing and found that every single person that was contact traced got it from a symptomatic person. And there were over 1,300 people there. And I'll let you in on so I was in a policy meeting. So the White House compound has, for your listeners, there's two buildings. There's the White House, where the president lives and everything. And there's this giant building called the executive office, where there's a ton of staffers doing policy planning. And, I went to a meeting the other day because I just had a buddy that works there in foreign policy and knows that's my strong suit. So he's like, yeah, you should sit in on this meeting. And even the White House, I can tell you right now, what they're doing to scan for entry is that they're scanning foreheads and they're looking for temperatures. They're looking for symptomatic. And if the White House isn't concerned about asymptomatic spread within the building, I don't think that these states should be shutting down based on the threat of asymptomatic spread, which seems relatively unproven.
Okay.
And there's there's a lot of misinformation out there, and the media has done a really poor job with that, because all you need is one doctor to say something on the record, and it spreads like wildfire. And the media loves the attention and the clicks and all that stuff. So they love this like fear hype. But it's really unhealthy.
Yeah, they rather be first than be right with the news. I mean, I get it. So it's bullshit.
Yeah.
I actually went against the Surgeon General in February, right after Valentine's Day, when we were still operating whatever, and I was like, yo, how could you fucking make a statement saying that masks won't help? Are you fucking kidding me? Like, I come from mask culture. I live in Asia. I've been all through there. They do it for, well, I mean, there's many different reasons, but obviously to spread germs, but it does help. And then now it became a mandatory thing. I'm like, how the fuck do you flip the switch? How do you go like completely 180 from one thing to another? That's crazy. And that's the Surgeon General, and the CDC. So it just kind of bums me out that there's this information out there. And again, I'm not a big fan of Trump. Don't really care. But at the same time, if he says something true, I wouldn't, I'm not going to just bash him just because, but it's just like, there's so much other crazy shit that he's saying. Like, what is your opinion on touching a box or elevator button or a railing? Like, I was reading something from Taiwan as well, and they were saying, oh, you can get it from here, here, and here in certain circumstances. But then another doctor was saying, man, it's really not. If you got, let's say, for instance, all 2 million people that have been infected with COVID-19, the over 2 million people, they're saying it's a really, really little, like when they say little, I don't know if it's 1% or 2%, but it's a very small amount, if any, that got it from touching a box or a fucking Coke can or something like that. Like, what's your opinion on that?
Right. So it's so important to separate, those anecdotal studies of people saying like, oh, I was just hanging out and then touched the button in the elevator and then I got COVID. But you're right. The studies seem to indicate that people are getting it through direct close contact with other individuals. And it usually occurs, when let's say you're hanging out with someone for half an hour in the same room. And that seems to be where the overwhelming amount of transmission occurs. So I'm seeing a lot of these videos, and I'm not a doctor, I'm not an epidemiologist, I'm not a virologist, I'm not an expert on the spread of viruses, but I have been reading a lot of these studies, and they all seem to say a similar thing. But then people don't like reading scientific research documents. They'd rather just go to CNN.com and then they see, did you know that you can get COVID if you touch the handle that someone else touched 18 days ago? And then, that becomes the prevailing narrative. And then the politicians pick up on it. And then they just like want to scare the shit out of people for a variety of reasons.
Right.
Some of them are bad reasons. Some of them,
I mean, but
because
look,
they're just...
man, do you think the chances of me, look, I've been very careful. I only leave the house, and I've left the house very little. We've been locked down for like 47 days maybe in my home, longer than that probably. And I think I've left the house 3 times, right? 20, 30 minutes max each time. And that's to get supplies and groceries, right? And I don't want to touch things, and I'm always using sanitizer and whatever. But let's just say for that one time I didn't, and I didn't, let's say there was not one single person, I was just dealing with robots, right? No, I'm sorry, that doesn't make sense then. But I was in a grocery store that did occupy people, and 5 minutes later, the entire grocery store was just emptied for whatever reason it was. Now, I touched the handlebar on the grocery cart, and I forgot to sanitize my hand, and I had to pick my nose. What do you think, just out of your educated guess, you don't have to be an epidemiologist, I'm just curious, what do you think the chances of me getting COVID from that situation is if that handlebar was touched by an infected person?
Yeah, so there's definitely a reality that you can get that. And there was this, I got to share it with you if you do like a show notes. There's this great YouTube video of an ER doctor in New York City explaining how essential it is that if you're worried about getting COVID, that when you're outside touching things, don't touch your face.
Yeah,
and
I know. Of course,
it's such an important thing that a lot of people need to like help develop as part of like just being aware of where their hands are.
Yeah,
but that's the way that that's how you get it, is that you touch an infected area,
100%.
Touch your mouth, touch your nose, or scratch your eye or something like that, and that's where you're seeing people get it. But again, people are getting it more so, at least the symptomatic people are getting it through prolonged close contact with another individual that has, whether that's your colleague, your wife, someone you're, hanging out with. That's kind of like how people are passing it along. And I think that it's interesting that you're not seeing people get it when they go to the grocery store, but you're seeing grocery store employees getting it because they're hanging around there all day.
Yeah. And they're around a lot of people and they have to do all this shit. And same thing goes with obviously nurses and people on the front line. But like, I read something that you said, and you just completely disregard this being not even by any chance being airborne at all. I mean, if someone sneezes in the air, and you're jogging you're hiking somewhere in the mountains, and someone walks by after like a minute later, they're saying it lasts 30 minutes in the air or something like that. I mean, wouldn't that be airborne then if you walked into a mist of 5 minutes later or something? I don't know. I'm curious.
Yeah. So the papers say that like it needs to be big droplets. So unless someone sneezes and like directly into your mouth, which is a possibility, that the chances are so low that as long as like you're socially aware, that it probably you have a very good chance of just being fine. And that's
what if you don't see it? What if you're going around a corner in a mountain and someone sneezes?
So like this is the big issue about the droplets. So in terms of like the virus being suspended in the air, there's pretty much no possibility unless you're directly next to someone that does it. Like that's why I think a lot of people are wrongly.
Why would the media say then it could live 30 minutes in the air? And like doctors that, like there's like an ER doctor says, yeah, it could live. Or on CNN when they're interviewing somebody, or Anderson Cooper's like talking to someone, she goes, yes, it's possible someone could sneeze in the air and it could be living in the air for, even if she said 10 minutes. Like, you know how long fucking 10 minutes is? Like that's a drive somewhere. So if someone walked by and they just happened to mystify and it went in their thing and they inhaled it, it's like, that's crazy. I mean, that's how I'm interpreting it. So that's bad information is what, I mean.
Yeah, so there's no studies that have been published on that, and that's the problem. Is like when you have scientists speculating, they scare people. But what they're doing is really like an academic exercise where they're like, oh, it could happen if the virus is contained in small enough droplets where it can be suspended in the air. But with this virus, there's no information to correlate that. So that's why it's so important for medical professionals to speak precisely, because if there were studies about airborne transmission, I would have definitely found one by now. And it seems that it's just not a reality with this virus, which is good, because if it was that contagious, I think by now the entire country would have it. And that doesn't seem to be the case.
I think a lot more people do have it. And like you said, they've recovered from it, didn't know, whatever. But like, for instance, in South Korea, right? I'm Korean, okay? They've done these studies now, and they don't think it's false negatives, but they think that these infected patients who had all the symptoms and everything, and they tested negative for the flu, they test positive for COVID, and then now, weeks later or a month later, they're getting infected again. What's your theory on that?
Yeah, so again, it seemed to be, and Fauci talked about this a couple of weeks ago, and I'm not the biggest fan of Fauci because I think that he speaks without. I think the problem with our expert class, especially in the U.S., is that people have massive egos. So when they speak with authority, sometimes they speak with authority about things that they're not necessarily 100% sure about, but they want you to think that they're very sure. And this is just more of a psychological analysis. But anyway, the reactivation thing. So that is something that came up, out of, I think that some Korean minister said something about the possibility of reactivation, but they have yet to confirm anything regarding reactivation. So again, that was, if you look at the article, that was speculation. And another way, and then CNN, Fox, MSNBC, they're like, oh my God, reactivation, it's happening. But it was actually a government official that was saying, it's weird because these COVID patients are getting sick and maybe this is reactivation. So I think Fauci kind of said the same thing that I'm saying the other day in one of the White House press briefings, where he said, he hasn't seen any information on that and he would like to look into it. And he looked into it and basically said that, this is a health minister that is looking into the potential for reactivation. That would obviously be not a good thing at all, because then you're dealing with patients on top of patients twice as much if they're reactivating the virus. But in terms of the hard evidence, it's not there right now.
Okay, so you've been going real hard because, like I said, I was like, holy shit. I came across your page, and I'm trying to think of how the hell I did. Damn, I'm trying to think if it was through. I can't remember now at this point, right? And I tend to don't really follow people. This was the only time since Twitter started that I'd follow a couple people that were like doctors or like specialists with this and whatever. And I was like, okay, you've been going hard on Twitter, right? You got 62,000 followers, and you've been going hard in the paint as a counter argument to nearly all expert recommendations, right? So you've been going against these people.
Wait, hold on. It's important to clarify. I'm citing experts. It's that these experts, I think, are not being heard because they're not in this. They're not in this community of people, but they have the same exact credentials. But yeah, go on. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
My question is, you're going against them, whatever it may be. Will you accept some sort of responsibility if someone becomes sick or dies from the advice that they receive from your timeline? I'm just curious. If how would you feel about that?
So I am not doling out medical advice. I would never tell someone that. I think it would be unfair to attribute that to me, because what I'm saying is that I'm looking at the policies, and it's important to have a free debate and discussion about the policies. And when people say, I could level the same critique at someone who says, how dare you question the lockdown? Do you want my grandma to die? Well, I could say, well, maybe the lockdown is responsible for you infecting your grandma because you're spending too much time with her all day. So are you responsible for killing grandma, or am I responsible for killing grandma? So it's kind of like, that's the issue there, where I think people need to be able to challenge the conventional wisdom freely, very freely. I am making sure not to recommend hey, everyone just have a free for all, go out and start up an underground speakeasy. That is not my advocacy. Okay. If that was my advocacy, I'd say, yeah, I'm going to be responsible for transmissions and people dying unnecessarily because I'm reckless. But what I'm saying is that
Okay, so
the
no,
conventional wisdom needs to be challenged.
and you know what? Like you said, listen, common sense isn't that common. You know, people think I'm an idiot, whatever, because I'm not a doctor, whatever. I feel like I definitely do have a very good sense of common sense, and I think I have a good amount of it, even though at some points and times I completely go against it, my common sense, on purpose, because I might be angry, whatever it may be. And sometimes I'm immature for someone 47 years of age, whatever. But like someone like Dr. Oz today, he said, we got to open the economy up, the Dow's, in jeopardy. And, at the end of the day, only 2 to 3% of children be affected in the United States. There's 56 million children in the U.S. school system, right? That's 1.3 to 1.7 million kids that could possibly risk their lives. Like, don't you think that's a reckless statement for him, especially because he's a heart doctor? Like, he actually is a
Yeah,
doctor.
yeah. If people think so my argument would be that basically the only way out of this is for the government to have an adult conversation with the American constituency and say, listen, this thing might not go away, and we need to recognize that we're on a path to destruction, and a lot of people are going to, and this is not something that we can permanently hide from. I think the issue with Dr. Oz's argument basically is that he's saying that people and the rhetoric was very poor for someone that's so educationally suited for speaking well and properly about medical issues. But he should not have said that, hey, we just need to put more people at major health risk. I think that the health risk is the same, whether you're in lockdown or whether you start to have a managed risk. I think that the issue with what he said is basically he's like, yeah, people need to die so that my portfolio can get back to normal. I think that's yeah, you're right. It's totally reckless.
Okay,
To say
yeah,
something like that.
I just wanted to know your opinion on that. I mean, so I know you're not. Again, I know you're not a doctor. I want my followers to understand you're not a doctor, epidemiologist. I just think that you've definitely done enough research. I said I even introduced you before, like today on my episode today. I was like, listen, man, this dude is definitely a grown ass man. He knows, and I'm like, and he's shit, man. He's saying some shit that's opposite what I think, whatever. But at the same time, I want to know his opinion. But how do you think this virus is going to be killed off completely?
Yeah. So the reality is, and I know that a lot of people don't want to hear the reality, but I think that there's this strategy because a lot of people are scared and a lot of people are being told false information by the government that they can just kind of hang around and no one's going to get infected and everything's great and we could shut this thing down to zero. But that's just not how viruses operate. So, with that reality in mind, we need to figure out how to stop because there's almost 1 million people a day losing their jobs.
Right.
We need to figure out a way to manage this risk and realize that people are going to get infected either way. And there are some reasons for optimism. I mean, we're seeing it plateau in a lot of places, and there's a lot of scientists thinking, maybe this is a seasonal thing, and in the summer it could potentially die off, or maybe a vaccine is coming. I caution the vaccine optimism because this is a process, from what I understand, that you can't rush because rushing it could cause devastation too if it's a bad vaccine.
Yeah.
So I think in reality, people need to accept that this problem is very much a part of our new reality and that we need to find a way to protect the most vulnerable while also allowing society to get back to some semi-state of normativity. Because if people are under the false impression that the virus is going to go away, they're just kind of like getting bad advice right now. And I don't want people to be waiting around, losing their job, losing their lifestyle, thinking that we can just hit this reset button. It's just not realistic. But the good news is, we know this respiratory virus targets a specific subset. We know that some people are extremely low risk, and we know that those people can help develop immunity to the virus. If God forbid they get the virus, they'll probably clear the virus pretty easily. So there's a lot of reasons for optimism. But yeah, it definitely, going forward, we need some kind of realistic approach on how to tackle this. And politicians need to stop saying that we're just going to crush this virus like it's some kind of enemy that's in some physical state that we can just, similar to the, I don't want to open up a whole new bag of worms, but similar to like the overseas wars where like, you're on this war on terror and we could just wipe out these people.
Yeah.
It's just not realistic. So realistic approach, but there's a lot of reasons for optimism too.
No, for sure. And I think one good thing about this interview so far is I think even for someone like me, look, man, I always say, hey, I'm only responsible for what I say. I'm not responsible for what you understand. And the easiest way to misinterpret somebody is through a text, maybe through a tweet even in certain things because you can't feel energy through it. I think from speaking to you, I definitely have a different outlook on who, and I don't even know you, right? But no, this is good. My last thing I wanted to ask you was just curious. I was like, where are you spending your quarantine on a daily basis? Are you like staying at home? Are you like, or what are you doing during the quarantine?
Yeah, so I'm writing. I'm doing some research for my clients. Doing a lot of stuff. I'm writing a book for a client. Doing some media.
Are you leaving the house? Are you exercising? Are you jogging? Are you?
Yeah. So unfortunately, all the gyms are closed. So doing my workouts, getting a lot of body weight stuff in
Right.
because that's really the only thing you can do these days. Trying to find pull-up bar somewhere in the world.
Right.
But yeah, I'm getting outside, trying to be responsible about what they call social distancing. If God forbid that I don't want to be infecting people either, especially elderly people. So I think that people can take on this managed responsibility for themselves. But in terms of my lifestyle, I've been lucky enough to be working in a sector where this isn't particularly affecting my income. Yeah, it is tougher for everyone, but I have the ability to kind of like ride this out for quite some time. And I realize that there's a lot of people in America who don't have that. So I'm really concerned, and you kind of see this in how the economy is structured. That the people at the lowest in the totem pole, the people who make the least amount of money, have the lowest amount of flexibility, and the people who can work from home are generally almost always in that upper income bracket, or they're kind of like tech people. But there's a lot of people who need to go to work. So even if the government deems you non-essential, you can't tell your family. You can't, like, these people can't just be like, "Oh, I'm non-essential." So that's fine. Like, but how are they going to make a living? So people, I really hope to see things get back to normal. And
Same.
I don't want to say that like my business situation isn't 100% optimal, but I can deal with this for quite some time. But I'm aware that so many people can't. So I want to help lend a voice to those people, the tens of millions of Americans who have to show up to a job that they may or may not like, but they know it's necessary. And they know that, the only way to get to that upward mobility place to where I'm at and to where, you're definitely a successful person. But I think, it seems, through reading your biography that you came up and, you had to do it all yourself too. So you're very much aware of, that condition that people don't have, the poorer you are, the less flexibility you have.
100%, of course.
And this economic crisis is unfortunately creating a situation where the rich are fine, but the poor are getting crushed. And I think that, that's one of the reasons why this thing there needs to be different policies, and they need to happen soon, because you're just creating more inequality through just like, broadly shutting down the country.
No, man, I 100% agree. And again, I cannot express how much gratitude I had for you coming on and spending an hour on the show. Thank you again. I don't know if there's anything else you want to ask me, but I think we cleared it all. We've covered it all.
No, I think it's good to have conversations because like we're in a really polarized time, where you have like neighbors freaking out at neighbors. And yeah, there's like there's some people acting recklessly and they need to be called out. But I think that what is missing is that like people are just like really mad at each other, largely because we've been like cooped up in our homes. So we're like, when we get outside, we're like, oh, go fuck yourself, But
yeah, people are scared, and people are scared and whatever. And I don't know, man. It was just look at, man. This was probably the best, most educated conversation and just thorough as well. But no, man, that's it.
I really appreciate it.
Yeah, no, thank
Yeah.
you, Jordan. And this is a big platform to speak about it on, and I'm glad that we got to talk. And ladies and gentlemen, that's Jordan Schachtel. And again, they could find you on Twitter at Jordan. Spell it out.
Yeah, last name spelled Schachtel. It's one word, Jordan Schachtel.
Well,
thanks, man.
Thank you very much again. And yo, Miles, man, could you lighten up the mood a little bit and throw on some of that Lakey Lake? And we'll be right back, guys. So yeah, man, we're back, and I'd like to thank Jordan Schachtel once again for coming on the show. Look, this is a dude who I would never particularly choose to be on the show, and I came across his tweets from this dude at Still Gray. I think it's Gray, Still Gray. This dude is crazy. He's Chinese and mixed with something else, but he's fucking nuts. He's a Trump supporter in a way, but it's weird. Dude is very, I mean, again, look, I don't fuck with Trump. That don't mean that I don't fuck with people who fuck. It's just it's a weird thing. Right. But, you know, again, I don't expect everyone to agree with me. This dude, Jordan, is pretty different than I am, but took some time. Dude is important. He's busy during the pandemic, and I appreciate him coming on here and spitting some real shit. But right about now, it is time for Jackass of the Week.
You jackass!
Ladies and gentlemen, this week's winner is actually a group of 400 dumb fuck jackasses residing in the city of Bakersfield, California. These 400 people decided to have a party, all right? This is like 5-6 days ago in an apartment complex at that, all right? 400 fucking people having like a real party, all right? Not only did they have a party, 6 people were shot, including a 14-year-old girl. The fuck is going on? A car drove by with 4 people in it and started spraying motherfucking shots. Did a drive-by and took off. The sheriff said they found over 100 shell casings at the scene of the fucking party, scene of the crime. The party was full-blown popping, right? And the cops weren't even called to the party complex until the shooting occurred, right? I guess nobody called the cops because fucking everyone in that goddamn building must have been partying.
Yeah, jackass.
You know how many fucking people 400 is for like a party? Like, it wasn't a club, an apartment complex. All right, look, my kid's school from kindergarten to 8th grade has less than 400 students. Like, what the fuck? And then they're saying the shooting might have been gang related too. So you know this party was lit. All right, and it was super late at night. So why the fuck was a 14-year-old girl up and outside at 3 a.m.? I don't know. But the suspects that shot all them people, they got away. And all the victims went to the hospital, whatever. They weren't cooperative with the police. I don't blame them for saying the shit was gang related. They didn't want to snitch or whatever the fuck it is. I don't know if any arrests were made. I don't think so. But this happened during a statewide stay-at-home order. And, you know, who knows how many dumb fucks at that party got the COVID-19. But yeah, they won Jackass of the Week, period, straight up. We're working on this segment on the show. Please bear with me. You know, not everyone can be as fucking stupid as Donald Trump or that dude, Jay Mazzini. I don't give a fuck how many fucking tricks and antics he does. Yo, a motherfucker's a fraud. But anyways, that was Jackass of the Week. Honorable mention for Jackass of the Week, though. I had to do an honorable mention today because the UK Prime Minister, Boris Johnson, he is just a fucking another special person. This motherfucker was too busy chilling, like taking a break. And then he missed 5 COBRA meetings. I guess those were like where the UK, like the government, United Kingdom government kind of goes through like really important briefings. And they say, oh, well, the Prime Minister's not to be there. Listen, man, when it's 5 important ones, okay, and they're talking about the severity of coronavirus and how bad it's going to fucking hit their town and how bad it's going to hit the UK, this motherfucker took the shit lightly. And look, his dumb ass even fucking actually ended up catching COVID-19, okay? had he took the shit more serious, hit those briefings, figured out how to get PPE and all that shit around the city, a lot less infections would have occurred in the UK. All right. So he gets motherfucking honorable mention Jackass of the week.
Jackass.
Shout out to my boy Steve Spalassi, who runs Crep Protect Sneaker Cleaner and also presented by in London Town. He got the COVID-19. My man Steve is 50 something, early 50s, and he was fucked up. That shit this motherfucker's in the best shape, eats good. He ran a marathon. This dude is in excellent shape, but he's an older dude and he was fucked up. I ain't gonna lie, man. That shit was scary. But check it out. If you have a submission for Jackass of the Week, remember to please send it to benballerpod@gmail.com. Okay, y'all. So now it's time for the gold vacuum sealer giveaway. All right, you guys ready? So the first 4 people who can tell me where Adriana Hahn met Kobe Bryant, okay, which she mentions in our interview in episode 73 of this podcast, Behind the Baller. And then they have to answer that as 2 questions, okay? They got to answer that, and they got to answer, which movie did I star in where I used a vacuum sealer? Okay. What movie was I in where I used a vacuum sealer? All right. I won't say too much else. Tell me where Adriana Hahn met Kobe Bryant. It was in the podcast, episode 73. In this new episode, now I'm telling you guys, look, man, all you got to do is find out where that Adriana Hahn met Kobe Bryant and what movie I was in where I used a vacuum sealer. And all you got to do is email the podcast, benballerpod@gmail.com. We will do this by timestamps, okay? The first 4 people to answer those 2 questions correctly will win a gold vacuum sealer, all right? The winner will be announced on episode 75 this Thursday. Good luck, y'all. So, as you all know, I like to get high. And today I was supposed to be in San Francisco. I was booked for 420, the biggest fucking 420 gathering probably in fucking America. Shit is fucking crazy. One of my favorite places to go to in my favorite city in the fucking country, all right? And it's called Hippie Hill. And that shit's supposed to go on today, but obviously it's canceled. The mayor even said, you fuck around and go out there, they will put your ass in jail, all that shit. But last year, there was over 100,000 people there. It was fucking beautiful. And it was just not one fucking fight. There's no alcohol there, but I don't know. They managed to get all these fucking people there. No fights, no nothing. People just chilling, smoking. Made me feel like I was in college again. They had a Wingstop fucking pop up there. It was everything I wanted was there. All right, we had a police escort in that bitch. We lit up a 338 gram joint. All right, that motherfucker almost weighed a pound. Okay, 338 grams of pure fire, straight gas. All right, that green door fire. All right, it was passed around to at least 100 people, which there is no way today we could do that shit. All right, it's like, motherfucker, I'm not passing a joint to nobody unless I end up getting COVID. And after, even still, that's irresponsible for me to pass it to somebody and get them sick. But thinking about this being 420, I mean, I'm gonna get high as fuck. I was high as hell the other night in my live. I got so lit. I was text messaging house phones. I was fucking out of my mind. But it just makes me sad because, just like everyone else, I want to be out smoking, chilling, be in the Bay. If you ever celebrated 420 in San Francisco, it's just something special, and hopefully, in a couple of years, we can get that shit cracking. Shout out to my fam out there, Joel, Dave, Justin, Kenny Powers, Jigga, Burner, all the Green Door and Cookies crew. Yeah. So anyways, on to some entertainment shit. What's the entertainment vibe? I watched Gremlins and Goonies and Big with Tom Hanks with my kids this weekend, and it was their first time seeing any of those movies. And we watched Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So they love that shit. It was crazy. They love Gremlins. They love Big, which was weird. Ryder, he loved that movie. It was fucking crazy. I haven't seen Big in like 25 years or so. It's fucking amazing. I haven't seen Goonies since maybe 1991 was the last time I saw it. The shit was still fucking classic. I never actually knew it was filmed in Oregon. The fucking city is beautiful. Astoria, Oregon is just fucking beautiful. Gremlins was actually kind of cool. They were a little scared of Gremlins, you know what I'm saying? I think there's a part 2 of Gremlins. I'm not sure. My wife said there was. I didn't see it. I don't fucking know. I'm going to check that actually out after I finish recording here. But the good thing is I remember watching all 3 of those movies when they came out in the movie theaters in real time. And that shit meant the world to me back then. Movies meant something different. And I want it to be special for my kids. But obviously with the COVID-19 situation going on right now, it's kind of sucks, but I want it to be special to them, so that's when we do the movies in the man cave and family night, we try to make it special with the snacks and everything else. But if you got any good suggestions for kids movies, some of you guys have had kids, longer than I have, and, you guys know the age groups, right? I got a 6-year-old, 7.5 and almost 3-year-old, but I think they're too young for Stand By Me. And I think they're just a little bit, they're a little too young for The Sandlot, but those are coming. All right. Space Jam is coming, but they love the new cartoon, like new animation type shit. They don't like any of the older, even Space Jam seems too old for them. Right. But they love Disney movies. They're too young to understand the Marvel shit and Star Wars. At least Ryder's too young. He don't get that shit. I think I watched Star Wars when I was 8, you know what I'm saying? So London's pretty close to getting there. Anyways, on to my favorite show. Bosch season 6 came out on Friday, and I watched the whole fucking season in one day. It was one of the best seasons so far. It might have been it was one of the best seasons so far. Bosch is the best fucking TV show I've seen in a decade or so. This season was so good. Just, man, right off the bat, right off the rip, episode 1, first 5 minutes, they come out bussing, right, from the jump. Great season, If you guys haven't watched it, it's just better for you guys to it makes more sense to you. I don't think you have to watch it, but then you would understand the characters, the relationships and shit. And I'm telling you, watch from season 1. You ain't got shit to do for the next few weeks anyway. Watch season 1, and when you get up to season 6, you'll thank me. The next season 7, is going to be their last, and they usually drop a season every April, but who knows if we're going to get that season 7 in April 2021, because I doubt sets will be able to film due to COVID. But one of the first things I want to do is, if you Google map the Bosch house, Harry Bosch's house, it's in West Hollywood Hills, like up by Sunset Plaza. It's fucking dope. As soon as the quarantine is done and all that shit, I want to drive up there and check it out. I saw the address, and it was right by The Weeknd was renting a place out there for a little bit. And it's so funny because it's right next to where that dude Jet Set Life, if you guys remember that scam artist who's supposedly doing good now, I don't give a fuck. He's supposed to be doing good, I don't know. But he rented a house and tried to say it was his. He was just on some super front shit. Like, he was as bad. I don't know. Maybe he was just as, it was like two different things. It was just as cringe as this Jay Mazzini do whatever the fuck, but it's just, I don't know. I watched The Last Dance, right? Michael Jordan documentary yesterday, and I'll be real, that shit was GR. That shit was general release like a motherfucker. That was not, again, there's 10 parts to it, right? So there's 9 more parts, and it could be crazy. But that first joint, I don't know. The O.J. Simpson ESPN shit was fucking phenomenal. And I know because it's MJ, they can't fuck this up. But I've seen so much footage on dude. I don't know. That was just some general type shit so far. It's nice to see some unseen vintage footage of dude. But again, I've seen a lot of that shit already. And one thing though, I didn't know it was going to be about like the whole team. They said it's a Michael Jordan, thing. But I know they're focused on him. But, they kind of, they shed at least, a good quarter of yesterday's episode. It's 2 hours. At least a quarter of it was talking about Scottie Pippen and his career with the Bulls. And, is Scottie Pippen the best second man in the NBA, like ever? Is he? Because I don't know, man. Again, because, how do you compare Magic and Kareem? Because, who the fuck is number 2 really, right? They're both number 1. I don't know. It's a weird thing. And then you got like Steph and Clay, and it's like, fuck. I don't know, man. But what I do know is Scottie's ex-wife is a thotty. She's a thought. she's the thought of thoughts, right? But for 45, she looks damn good. But Jesus Christ, she acts like a thirsty college chick. And it's crazy because she has a son who's like fucking 17 or 18 years old and just, she has 4 kids. It just, I don't know, man. It's just weird. But I was never a big fan of Scottie Pippen, right? And I remember one night at Jerry's Deli, we would go to Jerry's Deli on the weekend. Every fucking rapper would be out there and everyone would be out and be bitches all over the place and shit. After the clubs, you go to Jerry's Deli because it's the only 24-hour diner, you know what I'm saying? And that shit's closed down now. But legendary moments there. Jerry's right across the street from the Belly Center. And we're just chilling there one night and Scottie Pippen walks in and he was a super dick to one of my homies. And my homie just wanted to shake his hand. And he was like, and he kind of shined him off. And there was like nobody really there. Like it wasn't like he was busy. But you know what? Again, I had some reserved thoughts about dude, you know, but who knows what the fuck was going through Scotty's mind when he was in Jerry's, right? You know, he could have been fucking going through some shit. He might have just lost his bitch, like the girl he was with before, Larsa, right? Who knows? She might have been fucking another NBA player. I have no idea, right? Because I mean, his Larsa, she cheated on him with Future. So, but yo, man, on some good shit. Scotty seemed real humble in that documentary, and I want to see more about it, but I want to see more of it, but I want to see more about Dennis Rodman. That's who I'm curious to see, right? It's crazy to see some of these old school players and see them now, like John Paxson, there's other people, Danny Ainge and shit, they're just interviewing random people, and just Steve Kerr did like this little interview right after on ESPN. But you know what, sidebar, my assistant basketball coach at SF State, Brian Fogel, he was actually also the assistant coach at Cal, but when I was there, and he played at Santa Monica Junior College, right? SMC, and that's a really popular college for like LA cats, but he played on that team for 2 years. The same time Steve Kerr was there, they were teammates and they both started. So kind of a trip, man. I don't know. Just, you know me. I always got to tie in some shit to 1 degree of separation away from me. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, let's see how the next 9 episodes come out. I said I wasn't going to watch it because you know what? I never said this. I always fuck with Michael Jordan, right? You know, obviously he was dope. It's good to watch here and there. I never went out of my way to watch him. Never went out of my way. I watched a couple games at United Center because I was in Chicago. I think every one of those games was versus the Lakers. But, you know, I'm a Lakers fan, period, when it comes to basketball. So I wasn't like, I mean, I fuck with the shoes, of course, right? But, I mean, they did a Magic doc. I got to watch it. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. And when they do a Kobe one and everything else, I'm just, you know, I'm Laker, man. That's just what I am. So on to the IG Live videos, right? I didn't really pay attention to too many others, but this weekend's versus battle between Teddy Riley and Babyface was hyped up to the highest levels of all battles to date. Okay. Obviously the age group, the demographic of people that fuck with that era of music, you know, much older cats, but it was a much wider base that the audience gonna be, you know, they hit fucking 500,000 fucking viewers. And it was a just total fucking disaster. All right. It started out okay, but what I don't understand is, look, how the fuck do these OGs, these amazing producers, not understand they're dealing with low technology? How do you not get in touch with your youngins, your daughter, your son? Someone doesn't let them know, like just like the basics, you know. So this is Instagram Live. This ain't no streaming, you know, YouTube fucking thing or some real concert like app. This is Instagram Live is shitty. I have insanely fast internet here. I have a gigabyte up, gigabyte down. That's 1,000 Mbps going up and down. All right. And I still have like blurry, you know, like that's fucking Instagram servers. Okay. So rule number 1, you tell somebody, Swizz Beats and Timbo, tell these motherfuckers, do not connect a microphone. Do not connect iRig to your fucking iPad or iPhone. Don't connect no microphone. Just fucking have your regular iPhone, period. All right? Regardless of what the fuck you think. It just ain't, that ain't what it is. IG Live isn't set up for great streaming capabilities. Okay? And I know IG sees this battle is coming up and they're going to draw big traffic. So I think that they favor that stream over everyone else's at the time. And there was some huge fucking concerts going on. There was like some live online shit with Bieber and like Casey Musgraves and I don't know, some other major motherfuckers. But they still had 500,000. They probably had more motherfuckers there. They were trending number 1, 2, and 3 on Twitter. And look, man, check it out. This is all you need for a versus battle. All right, coming from a fucking DJ who really fuck with sound. Me being an audiophile. All right, no microphone. Okay. Just make sure your iPhone is fully charged. And if it's not, then have a charger ready. But depending on what your charger looks like, it could block the speaker sound when you're talking to it and everything, right? But all you need is an iPhone that's charged, all right? A laptop with all your music on it. Get an external speaker, not any kind of big, gigantic fucking thing. Get a cool little speaker that is hardwired, that's just plugged directly to the laptop. Don't Bluetooth that shit. Okay, have the phone on a stand right next to the speaker. That is all you fucking need. All right, having a DJ and hype man, all this extra shit, it's just fucking just unnecessary. All right, you got fools in there acting crazy, man. The battle got to a few songs. All right, it got to a few rounds, got to 3 rounds, right? Until everyone had enough. The shit started out fucked up. We couldn't hear anything, the echoing. Shit was reverbing all over the fucking place. Babyface's shit was fine. All right, he had it figured out. Okay, but everyone and their mama had something to say about it. It was fucking crazy. You had fucking Tyrese going in there just saying some extra shit. And then fucking Toni Braxton of all people. I don't even know if you guys know. I'm sure you guys know who Tamar is because she's annoying and everything else. But Toni, she's like the chill. She had a Vegas show like after Celine Dion, I think. And, you know, she's like, you would never expect this chick to be with Baby Birdman from fucking Cash Money. Like Toni Braxton is an R&B like diva, you know, whatever, Babyface, you know, produced some of her earliest hits. This is, again, early 90s. And she was on Twitter lit, using GIFs and all that shit, you know, just crushing it. She was clowning. Black Twitter was at high times. They killed it. That was the best part, with the memes and all the shit talking. But it was just fucked up, man. The bad situation. And it's just unfortunate because there's so many fucking people that they let down. Teddy Riley didn't even get, like, he didn't even really get started right. You know what I'm saying? When they started and Babyface wasn't even in, the sound was cool. But the minute you add another person onto your live and you guys are streaming twice from 2 different places, shit gets tricky. I understand exactly how shit, when you need to restart certain things. I know when there's no sound, when you have to add people by touching the comment. You guys have watched my Instagram lives. Come on. Again, just fucking use your laptop, phone, and nothing extra. No fucking earphones, no AirPods, nothing. Why the fuck you got 6 people in the studio? Nobody's fucking social distancing. It's just crazy, man. And Babyface, he's social distancing because he got the COVID-19. When Teddy Riley was fucking playing his music, the fucking ring went off. Yes, the doorbell, ring doorbell. I have a ring doorbell, in 3 different places in my house. Like, why the fuck is the ring doorbell alarm connected to your phone and your audio while you're doing a live IG battle? You don't know what to fucking put on Do Not Disturb. And man, both these motherfuckers got so many hits. And it's 20 songs versus 20 songs. These guys have hits, like so many. I didn't even know that Teddy fucking produced Dougie Fresh and the fucking show. All right, Dougie Fresh, the Get Fresh crew with Slick Rick, the show, the real version of the show, like the 6-minute version of the show. That shit was like maybe in the first 10 hip hop songs I've ever heard in my life. And that shit took me to a different place. And when I heard it, because it had been so goddamn long, when I heard it, when he played it, just the vibe, I had to replay it just on my own on YouTube because the original version is not around anymore. I only got it on vinyl. But I was already a breakdancer when that song came out, and that was like real rap. I instantly fell in love with Dougie Fresh and Slick Rick. Slick Rick was one of my fucking favorites. The Great Adventures of Slick Rick is one of the best fucking albums in hip hop. That album was crazy. Anyways, I didn't know Teddy produced and co-wrote that shit. It was dope as fuck. Babyface immediately hit him with, I only think of you on 2 occasions. I'm not a singer, man, but that shit was lit. Like 2 occasions. This is like, man, it was crazy. Look, fun fact. Guy is my favorite R&B group ever. All right. Jodeci. I I used to call him Jodeci. Jodeci is right there after them. It's like a very close second. All right. When I think of Guy and their first fucking album, I think of my days in the Bay, like in high school. Like, bruh, when that first Guy album came out, it fucked me up. That shit was so soulful. It was so groovy. It was like the ballads. He didn't really have New Jack swing to it, but his upbeat shit, fuck, man. And this was when I was hanging out in Oakland part-time, you know what I'm saying? Running through Berkeley and everything. And I mean, it was weird not being in LA and being such a LA dude, right? I was just a teenager trying to fit in because I got kicked out of fucking high school, you know? And I don't know, man. Anyways, I had Teddy kicking Babyface in the ass. And obviously whatever, it just was fucked up. Babyface's demeanor and his whole vibe was just crushing Teddy. Like, he was so fucking chill. It was fucking amazing. Like, this is the kind of dude that his house is burning down. Them motherfuckers will be walking out. He ain't running nothing. He was just so cool. Anyways, they decided to restart the entire battle because the fucking sound was so bad. After 3 rounds, they fucking started again and played the songs all over again. And that shit killed the vibe even more. And then it started fucking up again. So they just end up calling it quits. So anyways, the new battle is tonight at 5 p.m. Pacific time. That's 8 p.m. New York time. I will be praying they got the sound shit figured out. And I will bet everyone listening to this show right now, I'll bet you guys a fucking gold money counter and a gold vacuum sealer that at least one of these motherfuckers got a mic connected. I just bet. All right, we'll find out later. But yo, that's it for today's weekend wrap up. Please remember to subscribe to the podcast if you aren't already. Spread the good word. We give away cool shit on this show. I always keep it funky for all my listeners. Look, man, you guys are everything to me. Real talk. All right. I think I got one of the owners of FaZe Clan this week, my boy FaZe Rain. I'm pretty sure he is going to come on this Thursday. So just know, always know, every episode of Behind the Baller is special. All right. And always remember, this is not your practice life. Lakey, please take us out of here, Brody. We out.